we basically were given the exemption clause. We were told we were okay to go ahead, and then I gave the go-ahead to open air events, and they constructed my beautiful marquee out the front, and we were up and trading for about a month, I would say, 3.5 weeks. And then Melbourne City Council then approached us through a municipal surveyor saying that the structure was actually now considered permanent, and we had 7 days to remove it.
Today on Dirty Linen, we are sticking in Melbourne town, and we're talking to Eamon Walmsley from Charles and Gamon over in the West. Eamon, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Dani.
Now, I've just had an experience in my local neighbourhood over in the inner south, I guess you'd call it, which I think is relevant to the conversation that we're going to have today. I went and had a burrito, a San Francisco-style mission burrito in a back alley in Ripponlea, not far from me. And the reason that I had to eat the burrito in the back alley and not in the restaurant that they're trying to build is that they are having all kinds of fun with the city of Port Phillip trying to get permissions through to get it all to spec so that they're allowed to do what they want to do and bring burritos to the people. Is this a story that resonates with you?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's apart from now wanting a burrito, that sounds very familiar.
Oh my God, you know that thing with burritos where you're like, I'm just going to have half and have half later, and then suddenly it's all gone?
I don't think I've ever eaten Mexican and then at the end of eating Mexican sat back and gone, I don't know what's wrong with me mentally, but I now am in pain, but I'm going to do it again tomorrow.
The mission burritos, I lived in San Francisco ages ago for a while, and the mission burritos are just their own species. So they're really big. They're always wrapped in foil, and they've got the rice and the beans and the meat or the veg and, you know, maybe some salad and some salsa and all that good stuff inside. And they're pretty epic. And I was really, I haven't had one in Melbourne, so I was really thrown back to that time, and it was a very pleasurable little journey. So Eamon, put us in the picture. Tell us a little bit about the business that you've got there, and then tell us what's been happening.
Yeah, sure. So I have been in the Melbourne hospitality scene for about 16, 17 years, and about 2.5 years ago, I got the opportunity I'd always kind of had my eye on having my own place after, you know, managing several venues. It's always, I think, in the back of everyone who works in hospitality, it's an option at some point. And I looked at places, you know, as far out as Castlemaine, and friends of mine bought the Bridge pub, and I helped them set up all that with logistics, and they do an amazing job. And I guess off the back of that, my search got a little bit more intense, and then we got an opportunity. I live in Yarraville, and then Seddon obviously is about 4.5 minutes away from Yarraville. And the opportunity came up with beautiful little corner in Seddon, Charles and Gamon, on the corner of Charles and Gamon Street. And I knew on the first inspection with the real estate that this was the one I wanted. We did a massive refurb interior on the interior. We got the courtyard up to spec, and sort of really tried to celebrate, you know, that little village community, West Side feeling. The West is very, very parochial, and they certainly, you know, they welcomed us with open arms. And so we opened our little wine bar and restaurant. Got some. Have a massive focus on small batch, sort of independent small batch wine producers. So we got the wine list of my dreams, got up and running, and serve sort of Italian and Mediterranean influenced food. And we've just kicked off the winter menu a couple of weeks ago. So yes, and then a tale that rivals anything that Homer put down just started about 2 months ago. So with the outdoor structure that we were looking to winterproof the venue with. So I guess, you know, every restaurant and hospitality business in Melbourne has been looking at outdoor dining. It's certainly got a lot of businesses through summer with trading so restricted, but
a Melbourne winter is not necessarily balmy. And so people have been thinking about, well, how can I weatherproof this a little bit and just get a little bit more reliability into these spaces? So, yeah, tell us about your journey.
Yeah, so after the first, after the second lockdown, the obviously the Victorian-based lockdown, like every small business out there, sort of we came out kind of thinking about what our options are, and we knew we had a good summer ahead of us, but we also had the eye on what Melbourne winter was going to be like, and we came up with the idea for a temporary outdoor structure that would basically enclose the courtyard, allowing us to still have both inside and outside accessible to the diners. So we approached Maribyrnong City Council in early April. We first approached building department. We were redirected from building to urban planning, and urban planning sent us through the clause around the exemptions around structures and outdoor dining. We weren't eligible for the original parklet outlay, as the courtyard itself is in private property. It's our property. So we basically were given the exemption clause. We were told we were okay to go ahead. Being a cautious fellow, I asked for a letter of comfort, which we paid for. We received that, and then I gave the go ahead to open air events, and they constructed my beautiful marquee out the front, and we were up and trading for about a month, I would say, 3.5 weeks. And then Maribyrnong City Council then approached us through a municipal surveyor, saying that the structure was actually now considered permanent, and we had 7 days to remove it.
Oh, man.
I said words along those lines. There was a few more expletives involved, but...
I can imagine. So, I mean, to me, it sounds like you went through all the correct channels, and obviously you had that element of doubt that, what you'd been told was shipshape, and you asked for that letter of comfort. So, I mean, what happened next?
So yeah, exactly. I mean, I in my career, I've done several fit outs of hospitality venues and, commercial and retail venues. I know that everything needs to be, dotted and crossed. There was nothing, surreptitious about the way we wanted to do this. So the order was issued for removal. We were given 7 days it was an emergency removal. It was in the first week of the most recent lockdown. So obviously I was trying to explain that, the marquee company would not be able to come out and, get this without the workers being COVID tested. We were told that if we didn't remove it in 7 days, they would be back for removal with the police involved. It got tense, yeah. And then basically there was just no opportunity to have any sort of dialogue. The order was issued. That was it. There was no turning back. I then made a social media post that was, I mean every word of this, it was not made in anger. It was literally a cry for, does anyone know anyone I'd be able to at least open a dialogue with? Is there someone I can talk to? And that certainly got some traction in the West, certainly, but then on a wider audience, I feel a lot of people, certainly the amount of people who reached out to me with very, very similar stories and, similar experiences. And then 3AW called me to have a conversation. I gave them a quick outline with Neil Mitchell, and gave them a quick outline of what had taken place. And an hour and a half later, I was on the air again with the mayor for Maribyrnong City Council, Michael Clark, who issued a public apology and said that he could see that the wrong thing had been done, that nothing was going to be taken down. And to my mind, it was resolved. That was on the Thursday afternoon after I'd made the social media post on the Wednesday. On the Friday at 9 o'clock, I got a phone call saying that we were still in breach of the order, and we were now actually trading illegally, which I sort of was trying to say. My understanding was this was resolved. That was not the case. We applied for an extension of time for that order, which was granted. It was another 7 days. And then basically having the marquee company on standby, because, you know, obviously we had to open on the Friday, last Friday, when everybody else opened. Like everybody else, we've had 2 weeks of very, very limited trade, you know, down to just, you know, some takeaway coffees and some takeaway wine. And I engaged a building surveyor. He was in extensive contact with the gentleman who issued the order to us, and what ended up being the only way we could get through or have the order removed was the removal of 75% of the structure.
Oh, my God.
And
what about the mayor? Eamon, this is so, I mean, you mentioned Homer. I also want to bring Kafka in. I mean, the literary giants have, you know, dealt with this. This is so ridiculous. Okay, so please continue.
Oh, I know. It's so, and Dani, of all the things I would ever want to talk to you about on your incredible podcast, a tent is not it's not one of them. We
cover every issue, including tents.
Tent issues, absolutely. Kafka-esque tent issues. Basically, the amount of people who, you know, had walked by, obviously it was the first day of everyone being allowed back out in some form. The amount of people who then started, you know, ringing the venue or DMing me and certainly looking at what was happening. It's very exposed. We're on a corner, and obviously they could see the dismantling. A lot of people who'd offered help were asking for updates, and I made a second post then basically saying, "This is what's happening, guys." We were offered we were called into a meeting at Town Hall, and we were offered a solution where if I turned the back wall, where there's a door that's not in use, if I turned that into a wall, then and got a building permit that the owner of the building would need to issue, that would end up having to go back through the same gentleman who issued the removal order, we'd be able to add one of the bays back. But honestly, Dani, it's how many times can you get up off the mat, let alone the cost of getting the marquee company to, you know, assemble and disassemble and come back out, and, you know, then building permits to turn doors into walls. And, you know, I don't think anyone in hospitality's got money like that to throw around, especially, you know, we're coming into the dog days of winter. So that's it. That's where we're at.
So you've got 25% of a marquee. Is that where that's where it stands?
That's where it stands.
So just like pulling back from the incredible, just like baffling detail of the situation that you've outlined with appropriate size and no swear words, which is amazing. I'm sure you said a few. Well, can you see a reason for this? Like, is the council coming from somewhere?
Well, I can see. It's a really good question, Dani. I can see that what they're saying basically was that, you know, the structure itself impeded entrance and exit because we'd constructed a door that would obviously be able to slid back and forth across the entrance to the beer garden. We've got the two entrances internally in the venue as well. And I was sort of trying to say is that, but what ended up happening was that the goal kept changing, or certainly the reasoning kept changing. At one point, it was an argument, this paradoxical argument about a temporary structure versus a permanent structure. The permanent structure because it connected to the building, so I needed to get it passed as a permanent structure, which no building surveyor on the planet would do because it's a tent. So when the connection, you know, of the marquee was removed, does it then become a permanent structure because it's separate to the building? That then it became, you know, then it was fire exits, and that became kind of the focus. There was heaters inside the marquee. That was a concern. We went back to the marquee company, and all their So they are the go-to company for Port Phillip and City of Melbourne. They've got over 150 structures like this around, with sent back all the fire certification. They've been incredible. Like, the amount of hoops we've asked these guys to jump through has been amazing. So, sorry, to answer your question, I see what they now have come back to us saying these are our concerns, but I feel we've done everything above and beyond, more than, to satisfy any of those concerns. And I guess it was just a case of pleading, begging and pleading, going, there has to be some sort of agile thinking here, or some sort of, maneuver or pivoting that we can do, given where we're at, given the, the state of things in general, that we'd be able to sort of come to some sort of resolution that didn't involve as much of a reduction. I mean, the structure as it is now, while I'm thankful to have it, becomes slightly redundant as what we were hoping it to be, due to the fact that it has to be open at all times. No heat is allowed in there. It's essentially, it's a tent on the worst night of your life camping,
I've been there. Oh, my goodness. I mean, I suppose the kinds of, top level concerns that they're raising around safety and access and all that stuff, fine, but tell you along the way, don't let you build it, spend money on it, rely on it. I mean, this vision of you on the day that you're allowed to open for trade after 2 incredibly tough weeks, the idea of what you're doing on that day being removing seating when it's so restricted anyway is just totally heartbreaking.
Oh, that's the exact word. I mean, we just, me and my team, we just had nothing left. We'll rally, and we're amazing, and we've got an amazing community around us, and my team's one of a kind. But you do get to the point where you're just like, you know what, that's enough for today.
Yeah, I mean, what drink do you pour to deal with this?
Archie Rose rye, single malt rye.
Oh, well, at least you've got an answer for that. I think what, we've all looked to from the various levels of government through all this, just stress and trauma and confusion is just a bit of a clear through line. And of course, everybody's in a bunch of new situations that are all clashing and colliding. But I just think that for the mayor to come on and say, dude, hand on heart, we got it wrong. But then obviously the buck did not stop with him. And someone's tapped him on the shoulder afterwards and said, actually, no, you don't have the authority to decide this. I mean, it's just so frustrating. Yeah. I mean, there was that, I think it's that sense of, okay, we got through here. We're now speaking to, there's a human connection, there's an understanding of what we're all going through. Our team, my team needs to get back to work. A lot of them are kids, and, sorry, that's very patronizing. They're young people. Anyone born in the 90s is a kid to me. So, but, they needed to get back to work, and we needed to get back open. So I guess it was that feeling of, we got there. We got a result. We can keep our space. We'll winterproof ourselves, and then when the sun comes back out, figuratively and metaphorically, we can take it down, and we hopefully we like everybody, like this very well-worn, narrative that everyone's got. We start building back up, and we start, being that place where people can come back to, and that community space, and to then feel that and then have that taken away again is just, no one's got the strength for that mentally or physically or emotionally, we're all at our tether's end here. Financially, of course. Yes, exactly. Okay, Eamon, so we've been on the tent for 20 minutes, and I reckon that's good because we need to talk about it. But what else would you like to chat about? Oh, look, I mean, we've got an amazing place here. The West is, every time I come around the corner in the West, I see a new little venture, and, Seddon and Yarraville have really started to become,
diamonds, obviously with Graysland and, Mabu and Yarraville and hopefully I can say that they're my peers. We've got Lucksmith and obviously my venue in Charles and Gamon is great. But I also am the operations director for a biodiversity company, and we're about to open Melbourne Sky Farm in a few weeks, which will be an urban biodiversity centre on the old Sidley Street car park on Warrandingi Way there. So that'll be heroing, native produce and food and beverage on the rooftop overlooking the Yarra. Ironically, overlooking South Wharf was where I started my hospitality career in Melbourne. So it's very much a sense of coming full circle.
That's amazing. So I was going to ask you about that because that's your email address is Odinata. Is that how you say it?
Yes, that's
correct. So Odinata is in the business of biodiversity, as the website says. Tell me what it actually is. What do you do?
So basically, we create business solutions for environmental problems. So we've got several different programs, but we also funded the Great Platypus Search, which was one of the largest undertakings of researching and tracking Australian native animals. We've got Mount Rothwell, which is in the process of reintroducing endangered species. And for the first time in Australian history, we were able to take 2 species off the endangered species, off the extinction list, and put them onto the endangered species list with the reintroduction of the eastern quoll and the banded bandicoot into Mount Rothwell. And then Sky Farm will obviously be a real megaphone site for us, with urban farming. Obviously, a lot of people now are looking at, ways that they can sort of reintroduce themselves back into into the food and beverage cycle and farming itself in obviously higher population density areas. And we've also got a project with ACT, with Canberra government, which is Mulligan's Flat, which is a gateway building that we're building, which will be a massive focus on First Peoples and native ingredients, and a learning centre about the sanctuary itself at Mulligan's Flat. So it's that opens in October. So we're very, very excited about that. That's been a 4-year project. So we've got lots of irons in the fire. Wow,
it's so amazing. Like, how do you come to have these two quite different but quite occupying strands to what you do?
Well, as you would know quite well, Dani, everyone in hospitality wears a lot of different hats, and if you're up for the challenge, there's always a bigger and better challenge around the corner. So I started it when I first arrived in Melbourne, down around the Malthouse Theatre and the Arts Precinct there, and then got involved with the Cabaret Festival, then the International Arts Festival and Spiegel Tent. And over the years, I made contacts with people who'd asked me opinions about fit-outs and feasibility plans and projections, and slowly but surely met Nigel Sharp, who is the founder and director of Odinata, and we hit it off very, very quickly. And Sam and Nadia and the team, we all work hand in hand. So my focus was then on a lot of the commercial sort of aspects of what we do within the biodiversity business, and Sam and the team have got all the endangered species breeding programs and carbon offsets and just anything basically in regards to that biodiversity business, which we found is if you approach it with some common sense, is an extraordinary growth market at the moment, and there's a real appetite for it with people becoming ever more aware of the challenges we face environmentally. So it's been the job of a lifetime. I've never been happier in what I do, and Charles and Gamon as a venue that I own is a it's a dream come true to have that on the side of a full-time job that I adore. So that the only thing really is a tent Dani, that stopped me from true happiness.
With the Sky Farm, like, is there a visitor experience part of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're building it as we speak. So Odonata, in association with Australian Ecosystems, who do some incredible work, we are putting the activation landscape up there now, just to basically get an understanding of what's going to thrive and what's going to change. The fit out on Deck C, which is the old higher deck on the car park, that commences construction in the next 8 weeks. And we plan to have, hives. We're doing as many native ingredients up there as well as we can. And then when we're basically looking to open, sort of just as the sun comes back out around October, November, we'll be shouting literally from the rooftop that we're open for visitors. So, but the website is up and going, so it's melbourneskyfarm.com. You can see some beautiful renders there of what we're looking to do.
Oh, I'm so excited. I was actually wondering about the platypus in the recent huge rains and the floods, just thinking the rivers must have been rushing in such an intense way. I hope that they're okay.
Yeah, well, the smaller waterways where the platypus, is most at home, obviously got absolutely ravaged in the last couple of weeks even. So the incredible team are doing, to me, it's magic. It's bordering on sorcery, the way that they're able to, track and make sure that the habitat is rehabilitated and, even relocate some of the animals as well, into safer, more secure waterways. But over the last 5 years working with Odonata, it's a terrifying journey sometimes to realize just how fragile and delicate everything is. Everything literally, hangs on these tiny little balances and, and population control and, how these things are all, at the mercy of us, as humans. So it's been extraordinary, but they are doing okay. I can actually very happily tell you that, that a lot of the little populations in New South Wales and Victoria have actually never been healthier. So it's good. So I'm hoping there's not too much ramification from the recent flooding.
That's really, really all very amazing, because honestly, there is nothing as exciting and beautiful as seeing a little platypus in the wild.
It's such a thrill, isn't it? It's
so exciting.
Yeah. It's one of those.
It's only happened to me about twice, but it's just, you can spend I remember canoeing along a river, I think it's the Mitchell, and just all day just wanting to see a platypus and then thinking, is that bubble one? Is that bubble one? Is that ripple? What's that ripple?
You look for that little slick hump to come up out of the water, and they are the most hypnotizing animals, I've been lucky enough now to be able to, hold, spotted quolls and bettongs, but there's something so enigmatic about the platypus, and obviously, going back to the famous, stories of people not believing it when it was brought back to England after, being found, that believing it was stitched together, and they lay eggs, but they have pouches. What's going on?
I know, they're just the best. We're so lucky to live in the same land as them, and God, we're so horrible to make it so hard for them. Eamon, how does all this this incredible perspective that you must have from the work with biodiversity and just thinking about the natural environment, how does that help you with a mindset for dealing with all the other stuff in hospitality through this period?
Well, I think it gives you perspective, Dani. I think, it's the understanding that, from the people who are around you, here I'm actually at the venue at the moment. We're just getting set up for service for tonight. It's maybe just every now and again being able to step back and sort of see that if you've got the right people around you, you can literally do anything. You can build, a sanctuary building in the ACT. You can build a farm on a roof, in the sky. You can have your own venue. You can do it if you rise to the challenge. And I often wondered, before I owned Charles and Gamon, I would look at my director in Nigel and ask that same question. How do you do all this stuff? And the answer he always told me was just making sure you have good people around you. And I in my experience now, having my own business and working full time in this extraordinary field, it holds true. There's absolutely no word of a lie in that. So,
but can you put up a tent?
Nope. No, that's come on, Dani. Let's not get crazy. There's I can put up a fifth of a tent.
Well, we just have to live with that. Eamon, is there anything else that you'd like to say?
No, that's it. Thank you so much. I hope the next time we talk is about, I've won greatest wine list in the history of the world or something.
Yeah, let's make it happen. Well, I wish you customers that only look at the top shelf and they drink quickly and then make room for the next person. Absolutely.
Well, if you're ever in the West, please drop by and say hello. The first round's on me.
Thanks. I love the West. All right. See you soon. Thanks, Eamon.
Thanks, Dani. Bye.
This is Dirty Linen, and I'm Dani Valent. We air the issues that the hospitality industry finds hard to talk about. We spend a week thrashing around each issue, hearing from different people with unique perspectives. We want to hear from you as well. If you have something that needs to be said about a topic, get in touch so we can include your perspective. Contact us at dirtylinenat deepintheweeds.com.au or hit us up on Insta at Dirty Linen Podcast. We can't wait to hear from you.
This